So welcome everyone. We have Dave Gottenberg and Aaron Michalski to be interviewed today with us. I'm Quinn Walcott. I'm the Business and Program Manager here at the Summit Historical Society. And as the Society, we are a member organization dedicated to collecting, preserving, educating, and engaging the community in the rich history of Summit County, Colorado. Ranching is an important part of that history. We will have questions and answers at the end of this presentation. We're probably going to have about 30 minutes for our questions for Aaron and Dave today. And then after that, we'll have the 15 minutes for you, our guests, to be able to ask them any questions. So please post them in the chat or save them till the end of the presentation. We will be recording this video as I have already started recording now. So please mute your sound and let's learn about ranching today. So welcome. So thank you, Dave and Aaron, for joining us today. We're so happy to have this opportunity with you. So to get us started, Eagle Rock Ranch has a long history. Can you tell us about that history?
Yes, thank you. First of all, thank you, Quinn Walcott and the board of directors of the Summit Historical Society for hosting this program and for inviting us on today. We're grateful for the opportunity. And yes, indeed, our ranch is over 150 years old. It was founded in 1868 by someone returning back from the mining camps and so forth, who went down the Terriell Road and was looking for something to do, and there was a lot of available ranch land at the time, and they staked a homestead, and it's been run. The property's been run as a working cattle and hay operation ever since.
Well, that's beautiful. Now, can you tell us about Terriell Creek? It winds through the ranch and is known locally as Terriell Road. Can you tell us this historic transportation route that connected Colorado City, which is now under a different name, to even different mine towns out here, including Breckenridge?
Yes, thanks, Quinn. The Terriell Road and the Terriell Valley was the main drag and the main access road from Colorado Springs and Old Colorado City, which was once the state capital, or the territorial capital, I should say, of the Colorado Territory. And the miners and prospectors came up Ute Pass, which is now Highway 24 west of Colorado Springs, and over Ute Pass down into the Terriell Valley, and came up the Terriell Road all the way up and over Boreas Pass into Breckenridge, over Mosquito Pass into Leadville, and all of the historic now old mining camps. And that was the way people would go back and forth. So we're not really on the main drag anymore, but we used to be.
All righty. I just wanted to show one of the pictures that I know that has that creek, and it's actually behind you, correct? Is that Terriell?
Yes, that's right. This is Terriell Creek. The ranch was once used as a photo shoot for Marlboro, and that's one of the pictures that was taken. This is another photo of the valley. Behind this, my wife Jeannie and I, looking down on our hay meadows there.
That's absolutely beautiful. Now, I know that you went over that it was a homestead originally. Can you tell us more about the founding of Eagle Rock Ranch?
Well, just from what I can glean from the historical records and the records in the county clerk and recorder's office and so forth, I think it's, when they used to execute the old mortgage statements, they listed all their assets, livestock and equipment and so forth. So you can kind of get an idea of what kind of operation they were running. and they were running a cow-calf operations similar to what we are running right now. And the homesteader was a fellow by the name of Lewis Holtz, who's actually the great uncle of, as it turns out, of some friends of ours down on the Front Range. And he was here about 10 or 12 years before he moved on. But he established the water rights and so forth. Our water rights, we've got 4 adjudicated rights dating back to 1876, right before Colorado became a state. So they're referred to as territorial rights. And since we're on the subject of water, my water commissioner tells me that of all the water coming out of South Park now, only 10% is still dedicated to agricultural purposes. So the other 90% has pretty much gone to the Front Range. And the water providers are taking water out of South Park right now, to my knowledge, obviously Colorado Springs, obviously Denver, but there's other cities like Thornton and Aurora, and there's probably other municipalities as well. Highlands Ranch, I think, pulls from up here. And so our water source is under some stress in terms of the challenges they have going on down on the Front Range. But we're content, and it's our obligation, I think, to sort of maintain this as a working cattle and hay operation, and that's our intent going forward.
Yes. So now, how did you get involved with the ranch and started having the ranch as your own?
Well, that's a good question. My wife and I always wanted to run a cattle operation. We met at a livery stable, 40, 50 years ago, almost 48 years ago to be precise there. But neither one of us came from a ranching family. My family wasn't in the ranching business, and neither was Jeannie's. So we had to piece together by bits and pieces, really, some resources that would enable us to buy a place. And that's how we ended up. We've been ranching here now for almost 10 years. And it's certainly, we've had a pretty good learning curve. But we're enjoying it. It's a challenging lifestyle for sure. My daughter, Erin, who's with me today, can talk a lot about sort of our marketing and sales efforts. I'm more the production guy at the ranch, and Erin's done a lot with our website and our direct marketing. We opened a store in Fairplay that where we sell meat, and Erin can probably elaborate on that. Erin?
Sure, happy to. Thanks, Dad. Yes, so I'm Erin Michalski. Thank you, Quinn, for having us today. Dave and Jean's daughter, and as Dad mentioned, ranching was newish to our family, although we always had livestock somewhere in our background, whether it was horses where my mom and dad met, the livery, or I myself grew up in 4-H down in the suburbs of Denver. So when the ranch came to the family, it was really a joy for myself and for my family to become quite a big part of it. So my role in the operation right now is a little bit of ranching and a lot of marketing. So I really love to connect people with where their food comes from. And we recently, as my dad mentioned, opened a store in Fairplay. Yeah, thanks, Quinn. So this is my family and my mom and my dad. So my husband Matt and I live over in Breckenridge. However, we, as Dad mentioned, do ranch over in Park County. So we have a little bit of a commute, but it's a pretty one over Hoosier Pass. I have 3 kiddos there in the picture. Addie, David, and Harper. They're 10, 8, and 4. And they're a big part of the ranch too. So it really is a family affair. I should also mention I have a brother who I love dearly, and him and his family live in Denver. They're not as big as involved in the ranch as Matt and I's family are. So hence why this photo's this way, but there's another person in the family. I would be remiss if I didn't mention my brother.
Right. I think I do have a photo of the store. I was trying to find the photo of the store, but it may take a
Oh.
bit of time to find
Yeah,
that one.
I should have sent you one. We opened up our storefront in December of 2020. Seems like a weird time, but Park County is a little bit more lenient with the COVID restrictions, just given the smaller population. So we were actually able to open in December. We're in a building that actually dates back to 1874, which is pretty neat. So when Colorado was still a territory, it has a lot of history. It was actually the original mercantile in Fairplay. They supplied mining materials, groceries, and other provisions. So it's fun to be able to restore that building back to its original purpose, and then have us selling our ranch raised beef direct to consumers right there out of Fairplay.
Oh, wonderful. So we've talked a little bit about the ranch and your involvement and everything. What are some of the chores or daily tasks that you have to do at the ranch?
I'll take that, Dad, or do you want me to do that?
Go ahead. You're doing great.
Okay, so I mentioned that I'm part rancher, a lot of marketing, and I say that kind of laughing because this is, like Dad said, it's not an easy line of work. There's always something to be done at any hour of the day. I can tell many stories of when we thought the day was over and everybody was sitting down to, enjoy the evening, and you get a call that your cattle are out, or there's a cow needs help, with its calf delivery, or you name it, things come up. But from a daily perspective, we run a pretty lean operation over at the ranch. As my dad mentioned, he's definitely on the production side, we'll call it. Him and my mom do their fair share of making our ranch really a family run operation. We have one hired full-time hand, and then some hourly work is needed. And then my husband, Matt, and I do help as well. That's kind of our structure over at the ranch. And day to day, the first thing in the morning is ensuring that our feeder cattle are fed. So like I mentioned, we sell our ranch raised beef direct to consumer, and they're with us their entire life. So these cattle that you see right here, these are actually our breeding cows, our mother cows. And this is during a branding, actually a few years ago. It's fine. You can leave this up.
Okay.
So these beautiful mother cows have babies every year. Right now, we actually had our first calf of the season last night. Speaking of baby cattle, but first things first, you got to feed those babies. So the morning it's feeding those feeder steers that will eventually become a great source of protein through their meat, for your body and mine. So we feed the steers, we feed our horses. You can see some horses in the background there. We actually do the majority of our cattle work on horseback, which we pride ourselves on. It's very low stress for our cattle. It's better on the land, and it's kind of the way of the West. So you feed the animals first, and then inevitably there's chores. There's pens to clean up. There's the horse pens to clean up, and we kind of say to the kids, would you like to eat breakfast in the bathroom? And if their answer is no, it's, well, neither does your horse. So we got to go clean cattle pens and horse pens. And usually there's some kind of project, like a fence to be fixed that an elk has knocked down or a bull has knocked down. There's a lot of water issues, not issues necessarily, but components to our water system that need to be monitored each day or checked on. That's something that Dad takes a lot of pride and responsibility for. So we're very diligent about ensuring that we're not overtaking or undertaking what we should be taking in terms of water needs for the ranch. So there's a lot of irrigation work that goes in. But the day-to-day, I mean, there's really no 2 days that are ever alike on the ranch. The only things you can count on are feeding and cleaning, and anything in the middle, kind of gets jumbled depending on the seasons.
Yeah, I'll jump in a little bit there too, Quinn. It kind of depends on the season. So springtime, we're calving. We calve a little bit later than folks down on the Front Range, or even people out on the far western slope. We're at high altitude. The ranch headquarters is at 9,000 feet. So we time our calving to sort of mimic the time of year that the elk calve. which is May and June. And so we're tending to calves. We're watching mother cows who show signs of delivery and so forth. We're monitoring all that. We're bringing them in close to the ranch. In the summer, they go out on our grazing pastures with their babies at that point by their side. So we ride through them and keep track of where they are and how they are all doing. But at the same time, we're irrigating. So we're growing hay in the summer. In the late summer, early fall, we are doing our haying. We get one cutting in late summer, early fall. So we'll be cutting and baling. We cut probably 400 or 500 tons of hay and put that up to get ready for winter. We're starting to bring our pairs in from their summer pastures, and they get their fall shots. The mother cows at some point will do a test on them, ultrasound, to see if they're bred. Going into winter, then we keep all of our cows on the property. So then we start rotating and keeping them close and feeding a feeding program with our hay and some protein supplement. Midwinter, it's the same. You'd think we'd have some downtime in the winter, but it's still just crazy busy, it seems like, with vehicle maintenance and repairs and keeping track of everybody and how they're doing, making sure they have water, chopping ice in the river, and all those sorts of things. And then late spring, again, we're cleaning ditches, getting ready to turn head gates on, water, starting to irrigate, dragging fields. My wife Jeannie does a great job where we drag a harrow through the fields and break up the manure, and that's our natural fertilizer. And then we're ready to turn the water on and start growing hay and praying for sun and green grass and all the things that summer brings us. So that's kind of the seasonal aspect of what it is we do on the ranch.
Wonderful. Well, you talked a little bit about how you hire seasonal help or at least temporary help. What did they specifically help you with?
Go ahead, Erin.
Sure.
Yeah.
So
Good.
we run a pretty decent sized herd at our ranch. We just, kind of for scaling purposes, we have about 200 mama cows, and then at any point, if they have their 200 babies, we're up to 400 plus animals. So we have a pretty sizable herd to look after, and extra hands are needed, whether it's helping to ensure that the cattle, like my dad mentioned, are where they're supposed to be. Not all, at max capacity, 400 are obviously on site. We do utilize the National Forest Service for a lot of our grazing needs over the summer. So whether it's my mom and I are riding out to go check the herd and ensure that everyone's healthy, people are always needed back at the ranch to, like Dad said, work on vehicle maintenance, fencing work, moving hay, moving equipment, helping get cattle from one point to another, rescuing bulls out of people's front yards once in a while. It's always something. So having extra hands around is just kind of a necessary product of the size herd that we're running. And we also have I think right now we're up to about 7 horses and mules kind of combined. So yeah, this is a picture of our cattle out on Forest Service. This was taken last summer. So you can see that nice green lush grass. This is back on one of our leases, and each one of our National Forest Service kind of parcels within our bigger allotment is between 3 and like 4,000 acres. So it's quite a lot of space to cover. So on any given day, if, for example, my mom and I are out riding horseback trying to look for these cattle and their babies to check on them, that's a lot of ground to cover. And you can be gone for, 5 to 6 hours easily at a clip. And then if you run into a problem and you decide someone, for lack of better words, needs to be like medevaced out because they have a bad hoof or something, that involves even more work where more people are necessary, or at least make the job a little bit easier. So that's what they do.
Well, they are very adorable. And you
Thank
did
you.
mention that you have other animals, including
Mhm.
horses. Are there
Yeah.
other livestock and animals that you keep on the ranch?
Sure. So at this point, no, we are at just shy of 10,000 feet, similar to over here in Breckenridge. So the conditions aren't ideal for a lot of other livestock. Right now, it's just the cattle and the horses and the mules, and they keep us quite busy.
Now, you did talk about water and access to water. How do you access water on the ranch?
Do you want to
Well,
take that one, Dad?
sure. We access it, well, two ways. One is gravity flow through our head gates. And those are governed by the wheel and the big threaded rod there that we raise and lower our head gates with. And then if the river is thawed, which sometimes in early April, it's not yet, but now it is, water will flow through the head gate into our irrigation ditches, and we'll have to clean those on a regular basis. But then it flows down through the property, and we have little lateral ditches off of those that takes the water out into the fields, and we can close and open those as needed to irrigate a particular section of hay ground. We also utilize a pump on one of our other diversion points where we take water from the river and pump it into a series of pipes that go up the hill, where it flows out through gated irrigation pipe. And we can open and close those little hydrants here along the way to sort of target specific patches of ground. Up on our pump, we really don't irrigate that for haying. We irrigate it for grazing, which we're about to use. That was last summer, and we're about to turn our mother cows out there here in the next day or so. And that's pretty close to the ranch house where we can start watching them for signs of calving and so forth. So, Quinn, it's kind of a symbiotic relationship. I had elk in our backyard this morning. It was snowing over there, and I looked out the window, and there was a group of elk going past the kitchen window. They come down in the winter and forage on the private ground, and then in the summer they go back up in the high country where they spend their summers, and we will graze our herd 2 to 3 weeks at a time in these various sub pastures of ours on our allotment. And we also have private leases. So the elk come in and graze with us in the winter, and we go out and graze a little bit with them in the summer, and it works out pretty well.
Well, it does sound like it works out pretty well. And thank you for letting us know about, how you access water and what you're using water for as well, since it's important to ranching, and also our theme for this year at the society.
Yeah, it's heavily regulated, as you might imagine. There's a district water commissioner. He's kind of for lack of a better term, he's kind of the water police in the valley. And each district in Colorado is assigned a water commissioner. He works for the state, and he'll come by and periodically check our record books. We keep record books on daily flows, and he'll make sure we're taking what we're entitled to, and not any more. Because there's just incredible pressure on this river and every other river really in the state, and they have a series of computer, I guess it would be Well, it's a satellite system of monitoring stations up and down every major river and even our little creek and so forth, that gives real-time flow data to people sitting in their office in Denver or at Denver Water or Aurora Water. They can see what the flows are in the river. When I turn on a head gate, they can detect that difference in the flow. So we have fairly senior rights, as I said, territorial rights, but there are some rights that are more senior than ours. And so when they make a call on those senior rights, we have to shut our ditches down. And I get emails every day from, everybody does, who's a water user in our district, in terms of what the appropriation date is, what's the call. Right now, I think it's a 1910 call. So we're, Denver's not using much water right now. So we can run our ditches. Once the calls start increasing in seniority, 1890, 1880s, and then in the 1870s, we got to start paying attention. And when we get the call that it's an 1875 or an 1874 call, we have to turn our ditches off to satisfy the more senior users on the river. And Denver, as you might imagine, holds some pretty senior rights on the Platte. But we, ours are pretty good. So we can pretty much irrigate as much as we need. Typically, Quinn will turn our water off in our ditches off in early July and start drying the fields out to get them ready to hay. So we're running water from a little bit in April, May, and June, and then we turn our ditches off.
Well, ranching is definitely the primary focus that you guys are having at the ranch and with your cattle, of course. Are there other activities that happen at the ranch?
Yeah, sure. So we, part of our ranch, part of a big component of our ranch that kind of ties back to water again, is we have some beautiful gold medal fishing that runs throughout our ranch. So that Tarryall Creek that you see behind my dad's head is about 3 miles through our ranch, and that's all beautiful fishing. So actually the Broadmoor Hotel down in the Colorado Springs has a fishing camp that's about 5 or 7 miles down the road from our ranch, and they actually utilize our river for their private fishing. So while we're raising cattle and growing hay, there's also a lot of fishing that takes place through our ranch as well. Lots of kids riding horses, lots of kids riding dirt bikes.
I'm actually going to share
there's all
one of
that
my
too.
favorite photos that you shared with me, because I have not shared that one yet.
Yeah, I mean, I would be, I wouldn't be telling the truth if I wouldn't say there's a lot of fun that happens. I mean, the kids enjoy jumping in the, this is my oldest daughter and my dad. I mean, they get a kick out of being at the ranch. Those kids have it made. They run and jump off of the rocks, and they jump in the river, and they fish, and they mud dive, and they rip around on their little mini, motorcycles and stuff. So there's a lot of fun that's had as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a couple of years ago. She's gotten big.
It was definitely one of my favorite photos that I just had to share it too, because it's just such a cute photo too.
Yeah, but it's primarily raising cattle, growing and putting up hay that we then feed to our cattle. Historically, we've sold some of the hay, but kind of with the drought conditions over the past few years, we've actually retained most of it to feed back to our animals. And then obviously the fishing is kind of the third component of the ranch.
Now, before you were talking that your beef can be found at the store in Fairplay, are there other ways for people to access the beef that comes from your ranch?
Yeah, so I mean, ultimately we're raising these cattle to become meat, to become a protein rich source to feed others. I mean, that's their ultimate job. So we actually, our ranch has a couple different ways that we market our cattle. We historically marketed our cattle through a co-op called Country Natural Beef, and it's based out of the Pacific Northwest. It's essentially a group of ranchers that are like-minded that sell their beef kind of on a wholesale platform to higher end grocery stores. So Whole Foods would be kind of the most well-known name. Our beef does end up at the Whole Foods meat counter under the name of Country Natural Beef. But closer to the ranch would be, our own kind of private label Eagle Rock beef. So we sell our beef direct to consumer. That was really born out of a lot of friends and family just asking, well, how can we get your beef? We like to see, we know how they're raised, we know how they're treated, we see where they grow up, we see that they're humanely certified. We just want this beef. So that was really the birth of our idea to just sell the beef direct to consumer. I started selling beef direct to consumer about 2 years ago. Our website is called eaglerockbeef.com. And we sell direct from our website. And then we opened the store back in December. So we have a storefront in Fairplay that's open soon to be 4 days a week. And then we ship nationwide every single week. We ship anywhere from California to New York, Florida to Montana. We ship all over the place. So we would love, for people to try our beef if it fits their needs. And if not, we just say, just eat beef because it's good for your body. So either through the store or the website.
Now, before we turn it over to our wonderful guests, I have one more question for you. What would you like people to leave with knowing about ranching?
Sure.
Wow. Let me take a stab, and then Aaron, you can add yours. I think it's important to recognize, and I always ask people, consider what moves in when ranches move out. When somebody can't ranch anymore, or they go broke, or for whatever reason, they have to sell their water, or they have to sell their livestock or whatever, what comes in and takes the place? The ranch here, if we left, it probably wouldn't stay like it is today. How would somebody realize a return on that? So probably be subdivided and the water would be sold. And so ranching, at least our ranch, when people support our ranch, or any ranch as far as that goes, I guess they're supporting open land, they're supporting viewscapes, they're supporting people that watch what's going on in the river, they watch what's going on with the land. We're practicing a regenerative agricultural practices and so forth. So I just want people to think about those things. And when they buy a product from a ranch to table type of entity, whether it's ours or somebody else's, they're helping a small business, a family operation. They're helping preserve viewscapes, open land, elk habitat, fish habitat. That's a tangible thing that they can support, and I think it's something I believe it's worth supporting, because I hate to see the property if it ever left the agricultural sector, what it would end up looking like. It wouldn't look like it does today. What do you think?
Yeah, I think those are all great points, Dad. I think lately ranching, especially in Colorado, has gotten a bad rap that it doesn't deserve. I think that ranching, contrary to a lot of kind of media outlets, is actually the exact opposite of, a drain on our environment, or somehow, bad for our climate. I mean, our ranch, as you can see behind my head and Dad's head, is a carbon sequestering, vast open space where we welcome cranes and elk and these beautiful birds Dad and I saw yesterday that had these beautiful yellow heads and black bodies, and my kids see bald eagles all the time, literally all the time. We watched a hawk hunt a gopher the other day, and then it had a standoff with a raven. And it was, I mean, this, like, the wildlife that's taking place right in our backyard is really spectacular. So I think just any kind of messaging around, you know, what our animals are doing for our environment is so important. I mean, this picture right here, this is actually our hay meadow on property. That's Eagle Rock behind it. But Eagle Rock sits on National Forest Service, and our cattle spend their summers nubbing down that grass to help prevent forest fires. And as they nub down that grass, they leave their manure that helps fertilize that ground and grows fresh grass the next year for the elk to eat. And as Dad mentioned before, it's really a symbiotic relationship, not only with our land, but also with the National Forest Service. And without our cattle doing their job, you know, and turning essentially 90% of what our cattle eat is inconsumable to humans. So they're taking a source that we cannot eat and turning it into this wonderful source of protein that then we're privy to nourish our bodies with. So there's really nothing bad you can say about kind of that relationship of them taking care of the land and us taking care of them, and then in return, them providing us with a very nutrient dense food. So I guess I would just say, keep an open mind and always kind of challenge those anti kind of environmental conversations that tend to get thrown towards ranchers, because I think we're doing just the opposite, at least at the Eagle Rock Ranch.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. We are now going to turn it over to our guests here tonight. Does anyone have any questions for Dave and Erin? Anyone? I do have their link to their website in the chat.
Thank you.
If you'd like to go and scout out their website.
Hey, Quinn,
Mm-hmm.
this is Sally. Can you hear me?
I can.
Hi. Thank you so much for that great overview of ranching. And thank you for being members of the Summit Historical Society, so we can help you tell these stories. That yes, it's fast, it's disappearing in Summit County, and it's a pleasure to see that in Park County, and what you're doing is keeping that alive. And Erin, can I place my order to pick up on Saturday?
Absolutely.
To everybody listening, we can highly recommend. The summer sausage didn't last one day. It was
Great.
gone the first day, and neighbors came by. So yeah, I'm going to need to pick up 10 on Saturday. And
Okay.
Bruce said to tell you that he's got his brisket left. He's waiting for the opportunity to have more people in to share the brisket. But it has been fabulous, everything that we picked up. And yeah, we'll be there on Saturday with some big bags to pick up more. So thank you for manning and doing the marketing and getting just excellent products. We've really enjoyed them.
Thank you, Sally. I guess I should mention, historically, ranches like ours have simply sold in, you know, things like quarters and halves. You've probably heard, like, you know, can I buy a half of beef from the, you know, the rancher down the road? We try to make it more attainable and let people purchase one steak, or, you know, one pack of hot dogs or one roll of summer sausage. So it's really a la carte, whether it's on the website or at the store. So thank you for that nice review, Sally. And it looks like, Dad, there's a question. Are there modern day cattle rustlers? I'm gonna let you answer that one.
Yes. Unfortunately, there still are. And we have four-legged predators out there in the forest. We have two-legged predators as well. And it's not an easy job you can't be there 24 hours a day. We had to deal with a mountain lion issue last year that took a few of the calves, and bears are known to do that as well. But people, you know, these are hard times for a lot of people. I understand. The national forests are they're under a lot of pressure. There's all kinds of things going on in the national forest. We see it every day. We kind of partner up with our Forest Service district people and the rangers, range conservation officers and so forth, to keep an eye on things, to report things when we see suspicious things or illegal campers or hazardous waste disposal, pot operations, you name it, shooting, seemingly everywhere and all the time, off-road motorized use. Sometimes it's kind of discouraging, but I understand everybody's need to get out and get away from the city. We're going to see more of that. We're close enough to the Front Range that we see a fair amount of that. So we do have a brand inspector. He is the cattle police kind of in the area. If we see a problem that we think people loading cattle that don't belong to them, we'll call the brand inspector or the county sheriff. And but unfortunately, usually they're doing that kind of stuff in the middle of the night.
I guess I would just add to Dad's comment about the brand inspection. It's kind of interesting just to point out that Colorado does still brand. We still do have a brand registry. Some states, United States don't, but we do have a brand registry. So all of our cattle are branded on their left rib, and it's in the shape of, it looks like a bubble. We call it the Spade brand. So that's the brand that we use at the Eagle Rock Ranch to identify our cattle. It's a big kind of shovel looking brand on their side. That's how we know that they're ours.
Now
I
it
have a
looks like
question.
Joanne has a question. Sorry.
Where you're located, do you get much snow in the wintertime?
Not typically. I think Jefferson records, I think it's 17 inches annually of precip. Technically, we're on the eastern slope.
That's what I thought.
And what typically happens, even though we're like 23 miles south of Frisco as the crow flies over Baldy and Gio and so forth. Typically the snow will stop on the Continental Divide, and that's where the snow ends, and we'll get the cold air, kind of rises, and it goes over those peaks and it gets really cold, and then we get the inversion. It comes down and we get some really cold temperatures, but typically not that much accumulation of snow. It was snowing this morning, so we get our share. Where we get our big dumps is when it comes up from the south, up the valley.
I just wondered what you did to keep the cattle safe when it snows a lot.
Right, and the cold. It is very important that they have food, fuel to burn inside their stomachs. They've got a 4-chambered stomach. It produces a fair amount of heat if you supply it with fuel. Water is surprisingly is sort of the key component to everything. If you don't have fresh water and a constant supply, blood starts to thicken and circulation slows down, just like in humans and so forth. So it's water and food, which is why we feed heavy. We supplement with a protein supplement on those really cold days. Alfalfa is another source. The roughage is what creates the heat inside the animal. And they do quite well, even in the bitter cold, as long as they have food, water, and a little bit of windbreak from the elements. On really bad days, we go out and spread extra hay down for them to bed on, creates a little bit of an insulating layer. But when they get their winter coats on and there's plenty to eat, they do really well, surprisingly.
Okay, I was just curious.
Good question.
So I have a clothing question. Rolf Durkin was by the museum the other day, and he talked about when he was 10 years old, he wanted to be a cowboy. So he put on chaps, and everybody else in his family was up the mountain. So he was going to ride the horse. And he said he put on the chaps and they were heavy, and he got on the horse, but he fell off. And the chaps were so heavy, he couldn't get back on the horse. And he had to walk the horse all the way up to the mine. Do you wear chaps?
Yeah, we actually, so we wear chinks, which are kind of like, it's like a half shap. It kind of covers your knee. And the
They're
reason
pedal
we
pushers.
do, yeah, and the reason we do is it does protect our legs from the brush when we're riding out in those trees behind my head. We do go through kind of some heavy territory where you brush up against trees and branches. So the chinks, which are essentially just shorter shaps, do actually protect us. And they also kind of help keep our legs warm and help us stick to the saddle.
But they're a little lighter probably than the ones
Yeah.
Durkham was wearing.
Isn't that
We
a
can
funny
still get
story?
back on our horse.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to try
Yeah,
to
we can
capture
still
some
do
of
it.
those ranching stories because it just brings it to life. You know,
Mhm.
it helps explain to us city folk of what a chap is. And the ones we do have on exhibit at the museum are heavy. So maybe you can bring Aaron, you and the kids can come bring
Sure.
some of those lighter weight ones and tell that story. Because we
Sure.
want the younger generation to be connected, just like your kids are now,
Mhm.
to exactly what you said was that continuing legacy of where we get our food. Now, just one more commercial plug. You do provide beef to some restaurants in Breckenridge, don't you?
Yes,
Can
thank you.
say
We
it
are
out
the
loud?
Yeah, we are the sole provider of ground beef to Blue River Bistro. So the
Mhm.
Beckerman family has been very gracious to us, and they actually offer the Eagle Rock Ranch burger. So if you haven't been to the bistro in a while, they have a fabulous lunch special for locals, and you can try our burger on their lunch special. So I think it's like $14, and you get this big, massive burger, big side, and something to drink. So you can try the burger there, and they also carry some specials with our steak, and they also have an Eagle Rock Carpaccio on their appetizer menu for dinner, which is spectacular. So
Yeah.
yes, we're very proud to be partnered with Blue River. And then from time to time, we also offer some specials with Orem, which has been another fun thing for us. So yes, thank you for pointing that
Right.
out. It's been really a blessing for us to be able to have that partnership right here in town.
Yeah, and I always tell them the connection when I order the burger.
Good.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
That's great. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's a good
I'll
one.
sit with you and do the marketing.
Perfect. Yeah, spread the good word.
If you're short, the chinks are almost a full shop.
Well, you buy them for your different height, but yes, you're right.
I'm short.
We'll get just some kid chinks, Sally.
I'm happy to spreading the word. It really is good beef. And I am a Texan. I know my beef. And the flank steak was fabulous. I can't wait to have the brisket.
Wonderful. Well, we always say happy cows make the best meat. So I think that's a testament to how we raise the cattle on our ranch and how we take care of them in the land. So we appreciate that feedback.
Great.
Any last questions anyone has? No one's put anything more in the chat, so. Well, thank you, Aaron and Dave, for joining us today. And thank you so much for your insight on Eagle Rock Ranch. I know I enjoyed your answers and talking about the ranch and what ranching is about.
Thank you. Thank you for having us, Quinn and Sally. We really appreciated being here. And if there's anything else we can do to help spread the good word about ranching and the way that we use water, as that's your theme for the year, please don't hesitate to reach out.
Of course. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks as well.
Enjoyed it. Thank you.
Let's get this up here. So thank you for joining us today. Most of you are already members, and thank you, Dave and Aaron, for being members of the society. But this is ways that you can help support us and get more involved and know some of our events that are coming up. Of course, Next month is Map Month. So we will be highlighting a few different maps and having times on Wednesday for you to come and view them, as well as some library and other places that we will be having these maps. So check out our website for that information. And thank you so much and have a good rest of your day.
Quinn, are any of those going to be online, or are they all in person?
So we do have, so viewing them in person, we do have that, but we also are going to be doing a little recording for each of the maps segments that we're covering.
Okay, great.
And we will be posting that onto Facebook.
Okay.
And also to our website.
Okay.
I saw the look of Facebook of, oh no.
I just, I'm in St. Louis, so I can't.
Right,
make
of
the
course.
in-person.
So in person's probably not going to work out,
Yeah.
but we will have them to view online and talk a little bit about the maps that we have
Okay, great.
to see. All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
If you have any more questions, you know how to get hold of me. So
Yeah,
all right.
Okay,
Bye.
thanks. Good night.
Thank you.